It was a night like no other in the world of Silicon Valley. Beneath the gleaming chandeliers of an exclusive dinner party, the brightest minds in tech gathered in hushed excitement. At the center of it all sat one man, Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, SpaceX, and the most audacious dreams the world had ever known. But tonight, something unprecedented was about to unfold. A man, an up-and-coming tech mogul with a reputation for stirring controversy, was about to do the unthinkable: insult Elon Musk to his face. The question on everyone's mind? Could anyone truly challenge the world's most ambitious visionary? As the conversation heated up, a provocative challenge from this young disruptor shattered the tension in the air. And Musk's response? Well, it would leave the room in stunned silence. What followed was a confrontation that no one saw coming, one that would reveal more about Musk's true character than anyone expected. Hold on tight. This wasn't just a dinner. This was a moment that would change everything. The evening was meant to be a celebration, a gathering of Silicon Valley's finest. But as the appetizers were served and glasses of wine clinked, a sense of tension slowly filled the room. Elon Musk sat at the head of the table, effortlessly exuding the aura of someone who had revolutionized industries and dared to venture into the unknown. People listened intently when he spoke, waiting for his next bold prediction about the future of humanity, Mars, or self-driving cars. But this dinner wasn't about big dreams. It was about something far more personal, an encounter that would push Musk's limits. The man who would challenge him was Greg Martin, a young and ambitious tech mogul whose startup had garnered attention for its aggressive approach to renewable energy. Greg's reputation was built on his willingness to speak his mind, often provoking the very giants he sought to overthrow. Tonight, however, he wasn't just going to talk about innovation. He was going to provoke. The conversation drifted towards self-driving cars, Tesla's signature technology. It was a subject Musk knew intimately, a point of pride in his ever-expanding empire. Tesla's push for full autonomy had been met with both excitement and skepticism. The technology was still in its early stages, and while many hailed Musk as a visionary, others were more cautious, pointing to the system's imperfections. Greg, never one to shy away from controversy, seized the opportunity. "So, Elon," Greg began, his voice laced with playful sarcasm, "tell me, how's that whole saving humanity thing going? The last time I checked, Tesla's cars still can't drive themselves completely. You've been working on this for years, and I'm still not convinced it's even close to working." The room fell quiet. People exchanged wary glances, unsure whether Greg was joking or genuinely taking a swipe at Musk's greatest achievement. Elon, however, remained unfazed. He took a slow sip of wine before responding, his voice calm but firm. "I think you're missing the point, Greg," Musk replied, meeting his challenger's gaze without flinching. "It's not about perfection. It's about progress. Self-driving cars are a complex problem, but the only way to make it work is by testing, failing, and refining. That's how innovation works." Greg didn't let up. His smirk grew as he leaned in, challenging Musk further. "Oh, I get it. Progress. But isn't that just a fancy word for we're not there yet? I mean, it's been how many years? And you're still a long way from making these cars truly autonomous. At some point, don't you think people are going to start questioning whether your progress is just smoke and mirrors?" The words hung in the air, and the table became even more tense. Elon's eyes flashed with something darker, but he kept his voice steady. Every breakthrough, every major change in history, has been met with skepticism. People laughed at the idea of electric cars. People laughed when we said we'd send humans to Mars. The difference is, I don't stop because of their doubts. Greg, sensing a shift in the conversation, pressed on. "Yeah, but that's the thing, Elon. You're always talking about the future. But what about the present? Tesla stock is down 15%. You're not exactly leading the charge in the stock market. Do you think people will still be following you when the shine wears off and the investors start to bail?" There it was, the direct hit. Musk's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. It was as if Greg had finally touched a nerve. The room fell silent, all eyes now fixed on Musk. Was he going to let this slide? Would he retaliate or stay above it? With a slow, deliberate movement, Musk set down his glass and leaned forward, his calm demeanor never wavering. "You're looking at this through the wrong lens, Greg. This isn't about stock prices. It's about the bigger picture. You see a dip in stock value and think that's the measure of success. But success is about the long game. It's about taking risks, even when they seem impossible. If I stopped every time someone told me I couldn't do something, I'd still be trying to build a car in my garage. Greg wasn't backing down. His eyes gleamed with a challenge, a final attempt to get under Musk's skin. So, you really think people will still follow you when the dust settles? Greg asked. When your promises don't come through, when things start falling apart, and all that's left is your name on a few failed ventures? Musk's jaw tightened, but his voice remained steady, almost mechanical. You're underestimating what's been built here. And you're underestimating the people who have worked with me, who believe in what we're doing. We're not in this for quick wins. We're in this for something far bigger than all of us. The silence that followed was thick with anticipation. Greg, who had spent the evening provoking Musk with relentless questions and cutting remarks, was now standing on shaky ground. His last jab had landed, but it wasn't the knockout blow he had hoped for. I don't need anyone's validation, Greg, Musk continued, his voice quieter now, almost as if speaking to himself. What matters is the work. What matters is that we push forward. Failures, setbacks, stock dips, none of that changes the fact that we're moving the world forward. And that, my friend, is why I'm still here. Greg's smirk faltered. The provocative energy he had carried with him all evening seemed to dissipate. Musk's words hung in the air like a final verdict. The man who had built SpaceX, Tesla, and a future for humanity wasn't interested in being validated by the whims of the stock market or the opinions of a few critics. He was driven by something else entirely, a vision that couldn't be measured by short-term wins or losses. The table sat in stunned silence, the room heavy with the weight of what had just transpired. Greg, clearly rattled, had no response. His attempts to shake Musk's confidence had only highlighted the depth of Musk's conviction. The provocateur had met his match. The air in the room was thick with tension, every eye fixed on Elon Musk as he sat in the midst of a silence that spoke volumes. Greg, the provocateur, had finally thrown his final punch, aiming to expose Musk's weaknesses, to reveal that his empire was more fragile than it seemed. And for a moment, it looked as though the challenge had struck its mark. Greg was watching closely, anticipating Musk's next move. He had been waiting for this moment, believing that with one final jab, he could crack the persona that had captured the world's attention for so long. But what happened next stunned everyone. Musk, the man who had faced down seemingly impossible odds and emerged victorious time and again, didn't flinch. He didn't even raise his voice. Instead, he sat there, his fingers tapping rhythmically on the table, deep in thought. The room held its breath, waiting for him to react. Was this the moment when the man who had always been in control would finally lose his composure? The silence stretched on, the only sound the faint clinking of glasses in the background. Then, finally, Musk spoke. But his words weren't filled with anger, as many had expected. They weren't defensive, nor were they dismissive. They were simply measured. You're right, Musk said quietly, his eyes locked onto Greg's. People will remember me for what I've done, and what I've failed to do. Some will call it arrogance, others will call it ambition. But you know what? The only thing that really matters is what we leave behind. Greg's smug expression faltered for the first time that evening. He had expected Musk to rise to the bait, to engage in a battle of egos. But Musk wasn't interested in proving himself through petty back and forths. Instead, he was demonstrating something far more powerful, an unshakable confidence in his purpose, in his vision. And that's where you're wrong, Musk continued, his voice gaining strength. You think I'm here for the recognition, for the applause. But I'm not. I'm here because the world needs change. The kind of change that isn't made by playing it safe. And if that means taking risks, even if they don't always pay off, then so be it. Greg, momentarily taken aback, opened his mouth to retort, but the words wouldn't come. There was nothing he could say. Musk's words were a statement, not a challenge. They were a declaration of his unwavering commitment to his mission, to the future he had spent his entire life building. In that moment, the room shifted. What had started as a dinner filled with sharp remarks and escalating insults had transformed into something else entirely. It was no longer about Elon Musk defending his legacy. It was about something much bigger. It was about the values that defined him: vision, resilience, and the unyielding pursuit of progress. Greg, sensing that he had lost the battle, tried to salvage his pride. He leaned back in his chair, arms folded, a forced smile on his lips. "Well, Elon, I guess you're right. You do things your way. But don't forget, sometimes doing things your way comes with a price." Musk didn't respond immediately. He simply nodded, his expression calm, almost serene. The battle was over, and Greg had been defeated. But Musk didn't feel the need to gloat. His confidence was evident, but it wasn't born of arrogance. It was the quiet strength that came from knowing he had already won. The conversation shifted to safer ground, the tension beginning to dissipate. But for those in the room who had witnessed the exchange, the message was clear. Elon Musk wasn't just a man who built companies. He was a man who had mastered the art of staying true to his purpose, even when the world tried to tear him down. The confrontation had not only revealed his inner strength, but had also shown that the real power lay in silence, the power of remaining focused and unshaken when provoked. As the evening continued, the guests were left to contemplate one question: what does it truly take to challenge a man like Elon Musk? And the answer, they now realized, was not in defeating him with words. It was in understanding his unwavering commitment to the future, and the fact that nothing, not even insults, could deter him from his path. As the dinner wound to a close, the atmosphere was palpably different. What had begun as a clash of egos had transformed into a moment of reflection, a moment that would leave a lasting impression on everyone in that room. Greg, the man who had sought to challenge Elon Musk, sat in silence, his earlier bravado nowhere to be found. He had come to this dinner hoping to expose Musk's weaknesses, but instead, he had been confronted with something far more profound: a man who wasn't swayed by criticism, who didn't need validation, and who remained focused on his mission despite the noise of the world around him. Elon Musk's calmness in the face of provocation had not only revealed the strength of his character, but it also highlighted a deeper truth, a truth that went beyond business and technology. It was a truth about resilience, about the power of unwavering conviction, and about the importance of staying true to your purpose, no matter the obstacles. Musk didn't care about the insults or the doubts. He cared about the future he was building, about the impact he was making, and about the people who believed in that vision. For those who had witnessed the confrontation, it was a wake-up call. In a world filled with noise, opinions, and fleeting criticisms, it was easy to lose sight of what truly mattered. Musk's response was a reminder that the path to greatness is rarely a smooth one. It is filled with obstacles, setbacks, and people who will try to tear you down. But true success comes not from avoiding those challenges, but from facing them head-on and remaining focused on your mission. As the night came to an end, Musk rose from the table, his demeanor as calm as it had been throughout the evening. There were no triumphant words, no gestures of victory. He simply walked away, leaving behind a room full of people who had just witnessed a masterclass in emotional intelligence, in leadership, and in the art of staying true to your vision. Greg, on the other hand, was left to reflect on the evening. His attempt to challenge Musk had not only failed, it had opened his eyes to something greater. Musk wasn't just a tech mogul or an entrepreneur. He was a living embodiment of persistence and vision. In that moment, Greg realized that the true measure of success wasn't in proving others wrong or tearing them down. It was in staying true to your mission, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. The dinner was over, but the lessons lingered. For everyone who had witnessed that exchange, it was a moment of inspiration, a reminder that greatness isn't about ego or accolades. It's about having a purpose, staying focused on that purpose, and refusing to let the world distract you from your path. And in that quiet strength, in that calmness amidst the storm, there was a message for all of us. No matter how many times we're challenged, no matter how many times we fail or face criticism, if we keep our eyes on the bigger picture, if we keep moving forward with conviction and purpose, we too can make a difference in this world. So, as you move forward in your own journey, remember the lesson from that unforgettable evening. Let the noise and the doubts wash over you without causing you to falter. Stay true to your vision. Keep pushing forward. And above all, never let anyone, no matter how loud or provocative they may be, distract you from the future you're meant to create.